Hello everyone and welcome back to the New York Empoleon's Week 4 team builder of the CGT. We are here this week taking on Dr. Slaking, coach of the Forest Green Snovers, a coach we have not played in quite some time, but of course we talk about that in the battle. So we won't talk about it here right now. What I do want to talk about is two things. One, this may look all mirrored right now because, as you may have figured out just over the course of human history, I am left-handed, and I actually injured my left shoulder this past weekend. I went and got it evaluated by a doctor, and it seems like it was an external rotator cuff pull with a possible bruising from the impact of the injury. I was playing Ultimate, and I dove in a weird way, landed on my shoulder. Not a great thing. It's going to be about a 10 to 14 day recovery time. It's not super painful when it's at rest, but I can't move it around. So doing all these things that I usually do, which I would normally do with my left hand, I'm just going to try not to. If I'm grimacing or if I'm looking like I'm in pain, it's because I moved my left arm in a weird way. I'm fine. It's not a big deal. Just want everyone to know that. Point number two that I want to make today, before we get started, I am both starving and dehydrated. It is Yom Kippur. I am Jewish and I have decided to fast this year. I admit I don't fast every year. Generally I'll fast if I am not doing anything else that day that would require me to need to have consumed food, like if I'm driving or anything else that I feel like being dehydrated or starving would be a problem, like just because my mental faculties aren't all there, then I will eat and drink as I need to. But today I didn't have to go anywhere until sundown. I'm just chilling, and it is like an hour before sundown, and I am starving, and I'm also very thirsty. So I might sound like my voice is kind of shot because I haven't drank anything all day. And this will actually be the first time, if I succeed, and at this point I'm gonna try to succeed, you know, what else am I doing, that I actually get through the whole day without drinking. I've always failed, I've always had water, but technically the fast asks you not to drink. It says don't eat, don't drink. And so I'm gonna see if I can make it today. Another, like 2 hours, roughly. And I think I'll be okay, but of course I do have a battle. I'm definitely not all with it right now. That's for sure true. And I'm definitely thirsty, so my voice is just going to be what it is, and that's just going to be how it is today. We're just going to deal with it, and hopefully you guys are okay with that, because that's life. Just, you know, continuing on in that story, I am not that religious. I was bar mitzvahed when I was younger, but I really do not follow many of the religious customs, but I do try to fast. I do think it is it's an important thing to remember that there was a lot of people who came before me within the religious Judaism. Let's try that again. There are a lot of people who came before me, a lot of Jews who came before me, who suffered significantly more than I am doing in order to make sure that my life is as comfortable as possible. And if one day a year I suffer a little bit in order to try to connect with that understanding of what they were going through for many, many years and for entire lifetimes, then I think that is worth it whenever I have the opportunity to do so. And that's that. I'm not going to go too much into religion or faith or anything like that on this video. It's a Pokemon video. That's a little darker and deeper than I wanted to. But just know, I've got the physical pain. I've got the emotional pain. I've got the, mental pain of just being, not totally there with it. So, lots going on today. We're going to make it work, though. It's going to be a really fun battle. Are y'all convinced that I'm going to have a good time right now and you're going to have a good time right now? Anyway, my opponent's team, my opponent, I didn't even say it, but if you want to check my opponent out, links in the description below, as are all the coaches this season. We're really just going for it today. I'm not re-recording that. That was a really touching intro or whatever. Anyway, my opponent's team is Crobat, Alakazam, Whimsicott, Garchomp, Rotom Wash, Como-O, Heatran, Tyranitar, Maractus, and Bouffalant, which is such an interesting team. It is really good, and I am terrified of it. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely horrified. But there's two things I want to acknowledge that really impacted my way of building this week. One, the slowest Mon is base 55, and I was trying so hard to get Trick Room onto this team. The problem is all the Mons are really good against all of my Trick Room Mons. Trevenant's matchup is absolute garbage. Stakataka has a decent matchup, but doesn't represent one of my 6 best, in my opinion. I really liked Mawile as well for its offensive stab combination, as well as just the coverage it can have. But it's too slow to do anything without Trick Room. It's a little too weak, even with Sheer Force and Life Orb, to get Oko. So I would need to set up a lot of stuff for it to go crazy. And it ended up being a little bit more of a hindrance than a help this week. So I didn't end up going with the Trick Room style, although I think it's really good in this matchup because my opponent's team is much faster than mine, which is a problem because I now need to deal with that speed. So we're going to lead off here with the Sylveon. This is not potentially the most optimal Sylveon set either. I was just struggling. At first I had like just a straight up spec Sylveon and we were going to go ham with it, but Heatran just walls it so hard. And it didn't matter what coverage move I had, Heatran was just going to wall it. So I ended up going with a Pixie Plate. I obviously went with the Moonblast here instead of the Hyper Voice because of Como-O, because that thing could easily run soundproof for both the Bug Buzz from my Galvantula, as well as this thing, as well as Parting Shot from the Persian. Like, there's a lot of reasons for it to go soundproof that I think it will, so I decided to go with the Moonblast here. I'm running the Pixie Plate with enough special attack to kill a Garchomp that has a little bit of HP investment every time, no matter what. And we have Baton Pass so that if the Heatran does come in, we can get that momentum. We have Wish Protect because we need to recover because we don't actually have leftovers on this set this week. I think this Sylveon is one of my weaker members on the team, but I wanted to lead off with it here in the Team Builder to showcase you guys that this team is... A lot of the Mons I'm bringing this week, I'm trying to figure out the best way to phrase this live for you guys. A lot of the Mons I'm bringing this week are bait for my opponent. I think Sylveon's matchup here is mediocre at best, but it brings in the Heatran, which is exploitable. The Sylveon, otherwise, outside of the Heatran, just goes nuts with Moonblast by itself. I mean, Crobat resists, but other than that, like, there's literally no resist to it, and just Pixie Plate spamming Moonblast is really nice. But the Heatran is something that I can bait in with the Sylveon, and Sylveon being there makes my opponent not be able to click Dragon move with Garchomp or Como-O as freely. And it has a specially defensive set that Rotom Wash can't just like set up and immediately say I'm going to win the game. So there's a lot of pieces to why Sylveon makes sense in this matchup. It's actually not for it hitting the field, it's just for it being in team preview, which is I'm putting it on the top of my team, first Mon he sees, because I want my opponent to say, oh, there's a Sylveon there, and play like that for the entire game. I don't actually want to bring Sylveon out if I can avoid it. And if I do, I really just want to be able to Baton Pass. That worked so well for me last week. But I do want the Sylveon to be there for my opponent to have to play around it for the entire match. And that's more the value that this thing has than anything else that it could bring for me this week. Next up is Slowbro. Of course, I did mention every other one of my Trick Room Mons except Slowbro, because Slowbro actually does have a good matchup here. And I did end up with a bunch of different sets for this as well, but opted for this Toxic, Slack Off, Scald, and Teleport set. Wanted Ice Beam on this set so bad. Wanted to get Psychic Stab if I could get it on this set. Couldn't do it. I really think Scald and Teleport are the two moves that I'll be clicking the most. Slack Off is nice if I do end up in a weird Toxic Stall situation with something. And I also really thought about screens on this Slowbro. Light Screen with Light Clay was definitely a set that came up as an opportunity for this Slowbro to just become an absolute menace for my opponent. And Toxic Stall things like Rotom Wash a little bit more freely just because Light Screen gives me that freedom. But I decided I couldn't not run Slack Off, Scald, or Teleport, and Toxic fit the last slot a little bit better than the Light Screen because it allowed me to be leftovers, which I did appreciate over the course of the game. So this is, again, there's like 10 moves I wanted to run on the Slowbro. I couldn't do it, so this is the set we ended up with. And hopefully, the physically defensive, it just gives me a switch into Garchomp, gives me a switch into like Tyranitar, potentially. Obviously, Dragon Dance Tyranitar with Crunch is going to do a lot of damage, but gives me a switch into like Boufflant. It gives me an answer to some of these Mons just to be able to take a hit as needed. Next up is my Galvantula this week. This might be my lead because Sticky Web is okay here. I really want to put Sticky Webs up because they're mediocre to decent at best. They are okay. They help. Garchomp is obviously a fast threat. Alakazam is obviously a fast threat that I want to be able to slow down. Slowing down the Tyranitar, making sure it doesn't Dragon Dance and get out of hand or anything would be nice. But this thing is like only... Sticky Web's value to me comes with the next Mon, and we'll talk about that then. It might not even be the next Mon. We'll talk about it when I get to it, because I'll show you guys why Sticky Web has value to me. But a lot of what this Mon offers me is just spammable stabs. Volt Switch is really nice because the Garchomp doesn't love switching into a Bug Buzz. It can take two, but it doesn't love switching into a Bug Buzz. And really nothing loves switching into a Bug Buzz / electric coverage on this set. So most of the time, I just want to click Volt Switch and get out of there. Unless I'm pretty sure the Garchomp's going to be coming in, then I might click Sticky Web or Bug Buzz. But most of the time, this thing is just going to be able to spam its stabs. And Sticky Web has one very specific value to me, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Because it's not the next Mon that I actually care about. This Mon is Whimsicott bait. This Mon is specifically designed to get that Whimsicott to come in, think it's all set, and then kill it. So 1,000 Arrows does nothing, but it does break a Focus Sash, reveal leftovers or whatever, and then I Mental Herb, and I click Sludge Bomb. And if they try to Encore me into 1,000 arrows to try to set up Subseed or something, then Sludge Wave kills it, straight up. There's no doubt that Sludge Wave kills it. If it's like a Kibia Berry or something, fine. Then it might live a Sludge Wave. But then it can't Encore me into anything because I'm already locked into Sludge Wave. And if it does go for the Encore, fine. Then the Heatran comes in. Again, it's a dead Whimsicott. That's the big deal. Glare is super nice in this set as well. Once that Whimsicott goes down, or even before, if I wanted to click Glare on the switch in so that they try to Encore into Glare, that's fine. But if I do Glare anything else, that's just huge value. Something like the Alakazam that could try to switch into this, or something like the Maractus trying to switch into this. I just love Glare coming off, doing damage. If they're predicting 1,000 arrows, that's fine. Como-O doesn't want to be glared. Tyranitar doesn't want to be glared. You know, like, this thing is super spammable with 1,000 arrows, but that's 1,000 arrows is more bait to be able to click the special moves than it is actually the move I want to be spamming as much this week. If the Rotom Wash comes in, takes 1,000 arrows, burns me, that's fine. I only have one physical attack, and it's 1,000 arrows, and Rotom Wash is going to die to 2 of them plus another attack anyway, and Rotom Wash isn't killing me with a single Hydro Pump. So if it does waste a turn for Will-O-Wisp, that's fine. I'm okay with it. And we have the Mental Herb to make sure that Whimsicott dies. That is the plan this week with this. Hopefully, it is able to do its job. Its job is not to sweep. Its job is mostly entirely team support to try to help the rest of my Mons do what they need to do, which is win the game for me. Next up is my Choice Scarfed Cloyster this week. That was hard to say. This set came about when the stab options on this are so spammable, so free to spam. But it's just too slow to set up a Shell Smash reliably. And with Sand, I can't, like, use a Focus Sash to set up the Shell Smash because Sand would just kill me with the Tyranitar. So I instead opted for a Choice Scarf set, and that will allow me to outspeed Alakazam, that isn't Scarfed, allow me to outspeed Crobat, that isn't Scarfed, and just click Icicle Spear. And Heatran and Rotom Wash can obviously come in on the Icicle Spears and Liquidations. Well, Heatran not as much in Liquidation, but Rotom Wash can obviously come in on these attacks. That's fine. I thought about in the last slot running Teleport, just so that if the Rotom Wash is what comes in, I can get out and then go into a Mon that I need to be in against the Rotom Wash. But I decided to go with Ice Shard because if something is getting out of hand, like a Scale Shot Garchomp or Alakazam that has a Sash that is just getting a little out of hand, I'd maybe it's a Scarfed Alakazam and I've been able to do damage to it, but I haven't been able to kill it. Just having that priority move felt like a safer option this week to make sure I can pick up those kills. And because I am Choice Scarfed, I would actually outpace Prankster Whimsicott as well, depending on how much speed they're running, which means that, with the Ice Shard, which means that I can kill it before I take like a Stun Spore, or it sets up a Substitute or something like that, which would be really, really helpful for me to just get it out of the way if the Zygarde plan fails. So I figured the Ice Shard was better in that last slot, but Choice Scarf Cloyster will hopefully be able to pick up a surprise kill, and then my opponent will again have to play in a certain way in order to deal with it, and that's going to allow me to gain my momentum back in this match as I need to, as the game goes along. And lastly is the Mon that is why Sticky Webs are useful. Not because this Mon needs to outspeed threats, because I have agility for that, but because this is obviously Defiant, but with a Koba Berry set, Crobat is the likely removal. Now, Rotom Wash could be removal, but Rotom Wash wants to be doing other things, I think. So Crobat is the likely defogger. If I bring this thing in on a defog, and I go for the agility, and I get the +2 attack and +2 speed, and then they go for a Brave Bird trying to take me out because they're worried about it, and Koba pops, I live, Acrobatics gets powered up, I don't hurt myself on recoil, and I just kill everything. That's why Sticky Webs are useful, because I needed an entry hazard that would force my opponent to defog, and Sticky Web does that better than any other entry hazard. Technically, I think T-Spikes would do it too from the Cloyster, but I think the Sticky Web on Galvantula was a freer move slot. Cloyster was so cramped for move slots as it was, and this thing is going to be able to just slam into my opponent super hard and do a lot of damage, and I think overall is just a pretty solid Mon. If the Sticky Webs do stay up and I don't even get that agility to pop, I will be able to just do a ton of damage by outspeeding things. So that's sort of the plan with this set. I'm hoping that my opponent does bring it on the Crobat and not on the Rotom, but if obviously it is on the Rotom, it is on the Rotom. We'll deal with it from there. But this can't obviously switch into the Rotom safely and set up in front of it. Although it does outspeed the Rotom, so if it is defog, I can just not go for an agility and instead go for like a brave bird or a close combat. Close combat probably into the Rotom after getting the stat boost. So I would be able to see when the sticky web gets defogged, how I want to react to it, and then play from there in the late game, because I would like to be able to set up maybe sticky webs twice, once at the very beginning and then once later on in the game, if I do get the opportunity to do so. Anyway, that's the team this week. Hopefully you guys are excited. It's going to be a good one. I'm certainly not sure exactly what's going to happen, but I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all back here tomorrow with that battle. Take care, everybody.